Welcome to the Night Owl Space. On this episode, I'm going to share with you a simple, durable, flexible, and sustainable tactic that you can use to kind of align your body clock and your circadian rhythms with the tasks on your to-do list. But before we get to that, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. We're really in the early phases of the Night Owl Space. If you know another night owl or plenty of other night owls out there that are looking for a space like this, please share this podcast with them. You can share this individual episode, past episodes, what have you. There are, of course, links in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, then there are links in the description. But I'd love to get as many night owls listening, watching, being part of this podcast, because I want to make sure that every 2 weeks I deliver the goods. I've been spending a lot of time studying this space because I'm a night owl myself, and a productive one at that. And my aim for this podcast, this space, is to help other night owls be productive as well. And it's going to start with this very, very easy tip to follow here. It's something that you're going to have to habituate, ritualize. That's another thing that we're going to get into, another area that we'll cover during the life of this show is how do others operate. One of the most famous people on the planet appears to be a night owl. If you've been living under a rock, then you probably don't know who Taylor Swift is. But even I think people living under a rock can hear the reverberations of the Swifties and Taylor herself when they actually, are performing concerts. I mean, Seattle, it was like, I think they registered an earthquake for the shows that happened in Seattle. There's a whole album, 3 versions of it actually, called Midnights that she did. And, looking into it, I wanted to find out, is Taylor Swift a night owl? Most of her work does take place at night because she's performing concerts. And when do concerts happen? Well, they don't happen over brunch. They happen in the evening. But even then, that doesn't confirm that she's a night owl. Some of the reading I've done shows that she does not like mornings, and that is a common trait amongst night owls. So is Taylor Swift a night owl? I'm not sure. I've got to do more digging to confirm that. But what I will say is that I guarantee you that she is tackling tasks that are not going to tax her so much early in the day, those tasks that she needs to do herself. And then the ones that are going to require more energy, she is definitely doing later in the day, such as performing in a concert. And that's the tip that I'm going to share with you today. How do you look at your to-do list and identify tasks that you're better suited to work on early in the day, and then those that you're better suited on working on later in the day? And it really boils down to a simple set of 3 lines. If you are looking at your to-do list and you see a task on there, let's say you're planning tomorrow, that you know is better suited for you to do when you're tired or not at your best, just put a down arrow next to it. You don't look at the details of the task then. What you're doing is you're looking at what the arrows tell you, which is, this is a task I can do when I'm tired. I'm tired in the morning, or when I'm not at my best. That's before noon or 2 or whenever that is for you. That's when I will work on that task. Conversely, the ones that are taxing, the ones that do require more depth, more study, those should get an up arrow next to them. Now, if you're using a paper tool, that's super easy. Bullet journaling, whatever you're using, a paper planner, this will work really well because you could just put the arrows next to it. Maybe use a different color just to clearly identify, maybe red or something like that. There we go, back to Taylor again. If you can look at those, you can group your tasks that way. So you're batching tasks, but you're not batching them by project or by where you need to be. You're batching them by where you're at in terms of body clock, in terms of energy. And this is a massive win. This, by the way, also works for early risers and 9-to-5ers as well. But my focus is on the night owls because we're going to be looking at our days and going, okay, well, before noon, I want to tackle these low energy tasks. And after noon, I'll tackle the higher energy ones. If you're an early riser or 9-to-5er, you'll probably flip that script. If you can look at your list this way, you're going to be far more productive. There's one question you need to ask yourself when you start to take on this tactic. If you're looking at a task and you get stuck, you can't be decisive about whether or not it's high or low energy. Ask yourself whether or not that task is really a task at all, or is it a project? If it is, break it down. Break it down into its smallest particles, and I bet you'll be able to start to do this energy kind of siphoning or filtering or whatever you want to call it from that vantage point. If you can't break it down any further, then the question really isn't what energy level you use. It's, I'm not going to look at this through the lens of energy, or this attention path, as I call it. Instead, you're going to use another one. If you follow time crafting, there's 4 additional kind of categories of attention paths that you can use. We're not going to get into that today, but what I am going to get into is, okay, Mike, great. I've come across one of these tasks. It's better to kind of do the low or high energy ones first if you can. And then if you're done all the low energy ones, then dive into those other tasks that can't really be categorized by energy or filtered by energy. Same thing with the high energy ones. I bet that when you're done some of these low energy ones, you will have energy reserves to tackle some of these other tasks that may not have any energy levels associated with them. And that's because you're getting a little dopamine hit from every low energy tasks you do, as opposed to going to check your emails or checking DMs or whatever. You're deliberately and intentionally working through this list in a way that works for you and your body clock. So there you have it. Like, that's really how simple it is. It's going to take some practice to get it to happen on the regular basis. If you're using a digital tool, maybe the up arrow and down arrow won't work for you, but maybe you can use a tag or a label depending on what app you're using. If you're using a tool that has different fields, you could use, high energy as one field and low energy as another. You could even go as far as to rename them something that makes more sense to you. Prime time, garbage time, deep work, shallow work, whatever it needs to be. If you start to use this tactic and filter your list using the energy levels, as a night owl, you'll find that you're going to be doing more of the right things at the right time. And that is really the best place to be, especially as a productive night owl. So that's this episode of the Night Owl Space. I hope that this tactic or tip was helpful. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review the podcast. The more ratings and reviews the podcast gets early on, or the videos on YouTube, if you're looking at it through the videos that we have on YouTube, the more people will see the show. And again, subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to this or wherever you're taking in your podcast, be it YouTube, be it Spotify, be it Apple Podcasts. This show happens every 2 weeks, every fortnight, on a Monday, because Monday is the moon day. So I'm trying to align it so it works out really nicely for night owls like you. I want to help you become as productive as you can be and not fight your body clock, because you've got way more important things to fight as you make your way through time. Thanks so much for taking the time to check out the Night Owl Space. I'm Mike Vardy, and until next time, I'll see you later.